Money Follows Leverage: How to Multiply Without Burnout, written by Ronnie Rowland. Published by Growth Literacy Lounge. A man can drown in an inch of water if he never learns to float. That's how many people live, submerged in effort, barely keeping their heads above the waves of busyness. They wake early, grind late, juggle more, and still feel behind. The harder they work, the heavier life becomes. Until one day they ask the question no one wants to say out loud: is this what success is supposed to feel like? For years, we've been sold a narrative that sounds noble: grind harder, hustle longer, outwork everyone. It appeals to our ambition and preys on our insecurity. And for a while, it works. Until it doesn't. Until the deadlines blur, the passion fades, and we wake up building a life we're too tired to live. This book is for those who feel that weight. Not because they're lazy, but because they've been misled. Here's the truth: the most successful, fulfilled, and free people in the world are not working harder than you. They're working differently. They've discovered a principle that turns effort into assets, time into traction, and energy into exponential results. That principle is leverage. Leverage is how you build more by doing less. Not less intentionally, but less manually. It's how you install systems that run without you, assets that earn without you, and teams that grow without you. As Naval Ravikant wisely said, you're not going to get rich renting out your time. You must own equity, a piece of a business, code, media, or people's time. That's leverage, and it's available to anyone who knows how to use it. This is not a book of shortcuts or hacks. It's a book about designing a life where your effort compounds, where your Monday actions still bear fruit on Friday. You'll learn how to shift from being the operator in your life to becoming its architect. If you're tired of sprinting toward a finish line that keeps moving, you're in the right place. This book is your blueprint for building something that lasts, without burning out to build it. Let's start multiplying. Chapter 1: The Myth of More. Why Hustle Culture is Broken. The sun hadn't risen yet, but Dan's inbox was already full. His calendar showed 12 meetings, 3 deadlines, and a quick catch-up that would eat his lunch break. As the founder of a fast-growing startup, Dan had bought into the dream that hustle would lead to freedom. But somewhere between the late nights and early mornings, he realized something was off. He had built a life where everything depended on him, and now he couldn't step away without the whole machine grinding to a halt. This is the silent epidemic of hustle culture. It promises success through non-stop effort, glorifies the grind, and celebrates exhaustion as a badge of honor. But behind the motivational slogans and sleepless nights lies a sobering truth: working harder doesn't always lead to better results. In fact, it often leads to burnout, stagnation, and a plateau that no amount of effort can break through. Most people were taught to equate hard work with worth. It's embedded in school systems, reinforced by corporate ladders, and echoed in the startup world. If you just push a little harder, the thinking goes, you'll break through. But what happens when harder stops working? What happens when every hour added returns diminishing results? The truth is, effort has limits. You only have so many hours, so much energy, so much attention. And yet, success in today's world isn't awarded based on who works the most hours. It goes to those who know how to multiply their output, those who build systems, teams, and tools that continue producing results even when they're not working. This is the shift from effort to leverage. It's not about doing more, it's about getting more from what you do. Leverage is what happens when a single action produces exponential results. It's the silent engine behind the world's most impactful businesses, creators, and leaders, and it's the antidote to burnout. Think of a lever and a fulcrum. The longer the lever, the less force you need to move something heavy. That's what leverage is in life and business. Instead of lifting the weight yourself, you design a mechanism that does the lifting for you. It's not laziness, it's intelligence. And it's how the most productive people in the world protect their time, energy, and focus. Dan's turning point came not from pushing harder but from pausing long enough to ask a better question: what would this look like if it were easy? That single question changed everything. Instead of managing every task, he began designing systems. Instead of hiring for hours, he hired for outcomes. Instead of responding to every request, he created scalable answers, automations, templates, and team training. The irony? He became more valuable the less he did. Not because he checked out, but because he leveled up. He stopped being the operator and became the architect. Burnout happens when people confuse motion with progress. But spinning wheels don't move you forward. They just wear you out. To break free from the cycle, you need more than willpower. You need leverage. That's the path we're stepping into now. In the pages ahead, you'll learn how to multiply without burning out. You'll discover the 4 forms of leverage: code, capital, content, and collaboration, and how to use each one to create systems that work harder than you ever could. You'll go from overextended to over-delivering, not by pushing more, but by pulling the right levers. Hustle culture glorifies burnout, not results. Effort alone has limits. Leverage multiplies results without multiplying effort. True freedom comes from building systems that work without your constant input. Where in your life are you relying on effort when you could be using leverage? Identify one task you do weekly. Ask, how could I automate, delegate, or eliminate this? Write your answer down. Chapter 2. What is leverage really? On a quiet island in ancient Greece, a mathematician once made a bold claim: "Give me a lever long enough and a place to stand, and I will move the world." Archimedes wasn't exaggerating, he was speaking to a truth that still governs modern success. Yet most people misunderstand leverage entirely. They either think it's a risky shortcut, or they confuse it with exploitation. But real leverage isn't about getting more from others, it's about getting more from what you already do. At its core, leverage is the art and science of creating disproportionate outcomes. It's when 1 unit of effort produces 10 units of results. In other words, it's working smarter in a way that compounds over time. It's how a single idea, system, or asset can continue working long after you've stepped away. And it's the difference between earning a paycheck and building a legacy. Think about the contrast between 2 professionals. One is a high-paid consultant billing by the hour. The other builds an online course that sells while she sleeps. The consultant earns well, but only while she's working. The course creator earns repeatedly from the same effort. That's leverage. Same expertise, different delivery, 1 trade time. The other multiplies it. The misunderstanding starts early. Society trains us to think linearly, put in the hours and get paid. But linear effort caps your income and your freedom. There are only so many hours in a day. Leverage, on the other hand, breaks that cap. It decouples input from output. It turns effort into assets. When you embrace this shift, you stop asking, "How hard do I have to work?" and start asking, "How can this work harder than I do?" There are 4 primary forms of leverage: code, capital, content, and collaboration. Code is when technology does the heavy lifting. Capital is money making more money. Content is ideas that spread themselves. Collaboration is people's power multiplied. Each form carries its own power and potential. Together they form the engine of modern multiplication. What's crucial to understand is that leverage is earned, not given. It requires thought, intention, and setup. It's not a lazy shortcut, it's the reward of working on the right problems. You're not escaping effort, you're transforming it. Instead of putting out fires, you build fire-proof systems. Instead of saying yes to everything, you create repeatable solutions that say yes for you. Take, for example, the simple act of writing an email. You can write the same reply to 10 different people, or you can write it once, turn it into a guide, and share the link forever. One version drains time. The other builds leverage. It's the same knowledge, deployed differently. That subtle shift, repeated across hundreds of tasks, creates massive separation between those who stay stuck and those who scale. Leverage also shifts your identity. You begin to see yourself not as a worker, but as a builder. You become a designer of outcomes, not just a doer of tasks. This mental pivot is what unlocks the ability to scale without strain. You don't get caught in the weeds, you rise above them and change the terrain. In this book, we'll dive deep into each of the 4 forms of leverage. You'll see examples, models, and methods to apply them to your life. But it all begins with the mindset, from linear to exponential, from labor to leverage, from operator to architect. Leverage means 1 unit of effort creates many units of output. It transforms time-bound work into time-free results. Leverage is not cheating, it's designing smarter systems. Where in your current work are you stuck in a linear effort loop? Choose one repeated task you do often. Write down one way it could be turned into a system, template, or tool. Chapter 3: From Operator to Architect. Marcus owned a thriving restaurant, the kind with glowing reviews and a loyal following. But behind the scenes, he was drowning. Every day, he was the first to arrive and the last to leave. He handled the payroll, the inventory, the vendor issues, the scheduling, and sometimes even cooked when staff called out. When his daughter asked him why he missed another recital, he didn't have an answer, only exhaustion. He wasn't just running the business. He was the business, and it was running him. This is the operator trap. You build something with passion, skill, and hard work, but then become the bottleneck of your own success. Everything funnels through you. Every decision, every fire, every question, and even if the business is growing, you aren't. You're buried in operations, unable to think, create, or breathe. The solution isn't to abandon the dream. It's to change your role in it. That shift from operator to architect is the foundation of sustainable scale. Operators execute. Architects design. Operators react. Architects create systems that respond. The architect isn't the busiest person in the room. They're the one who built the room to run smoothly without them. This shift starts with one key realization. Not every task requires your hands. In fact, most tasks don't require your direct involvement at all. What they require is clarity, delegation, and documentation. When you design a process, train someone to follow it, and empower them to improve it, you've multiplied your impact without adding more effort. Being the architect means thinking in terms of repeatability and reliability. It means trading control for clarity. You let go of doing everything yourself in order to lead others better. You stop measuring productivity by your personal output and start measuring by the performance of the systems you've built. But many struggle to let go. They fear quality will drop, mistakes will multiply, or that they'll lose their edge. Yet the greatest risk is staying stuck. The more you micromanage, the more you become the ceiling. The more you delegate, the more you become the foundation for something bigger. Architects understand that freedom doesn't come from control, it comes from design. This doesn't mean you disappear, it means you show up where you're most valuable. You spend more time thinking and less time reacting. You invest in strategy, vision, and innovation. You create the systems, culture, and guardrails that allow the business to scale without collapsing under its own weight. Consider Sarah, a freelance designer who was working 80 hours a week. Her shift came when she began packaging her services into productized offerings, built standard operating procedures, and hired a project manager. In 6 months, her income doubled, her hours dropped in half, and she started enjoying her craft again. She stopped being the operator and became the architect. This transition isn't overnight. It's a process of identifying where you're stuck in the weeds and gradually rising above them. Start small, one process, one delegation, one documented system at a time. As your systems grow, your stress shrinks. As your team grows, your impact multiplies. And as your time frees up, your vision expands. The goal isn't to escape work, it's to escape the wrong kind of work that drains, distracts, and depletes. The architect builds something that lasts beyond their personal effort, something that grows even when they're not watching, something that matters. Operators are the engine. Architects build the machine. Transitioning to architect means designing systems that work without your constant input. Real freedom comes from structure, not chaos. Where in your business or life are you acting as the bottleneck? Identify one recurring task you handle, document the process, and delegate or automate it this week. Chapter 4: Code, the machine that works while you sleep. When Raj built a simple script to pull weekly reports, he didn't expect much. But that one script replaced 5 hours of manual work every week. Over a year, it saved him 260 hours, the equivalent of more than 6 work weeks. He wasn't a programmer by trade. He simply saw a pattern and used technology to solve it. That's the quiet power of code. It scales your brain, preserves your energy, and works tirelessly while you rest. In the realm of leverage, code is pure magic. It allows you to encode logic, decision-making, and repetitive action into something that runs automatically. Once built, it performs the same task over and over with perfect accuracy, zero complaints, and infinite patience. It's the lever Archimedes dreamed of, only now, it lives in your browser, your phone, and your business infrastructure. You don't need to be a software engineer to use code as leverage. You just need to think like one. Look for tasks that are repeatable, time-consuming, or vulnerable to human error. Those are prime candidates for automation. Whether it's a spreadsheet formula, an email responder, or a workflow in Zapier, each layer of automation compounds your freedom. But the true gift of code isn't just save time. It's mental relief. Every process you automate is one less decision, one less reminder, and one less fire to put out. Your attention shifts from managing chaos to designing calm, and from that calm, your best work emerges. Consider a small business owner who spends hours onboarding new clients, sending the same documents, scheduling the same meetings, and answering the same questions. By setting up an automated onboarding sequence with forms, templates, and a welcome video, they reclaim hours per client and deliver a more polished experience. That's code in action, not flashy, but deeply effective. Code also creates resilience. Human systems break under pressure, digital ones adapt, repeat, and scale. They don't get tired, they don't forget, and they never ask for a raise. The same system that serves 10 clients can serve 10,000 if it's built with scalability in mind. Even creators can harness code. A content calendar managed in Notion, a publishing workflow automated through scheduling tools, or a course delivered through a learning platform. All of these are forms of code leverage. They allow your ideas to travel further with less friction. They turn one-time effort into evergreen impact. Some worry that automation feels impersonal, but the opposite is often true. When you automate the mundane, you free up time for the meaningful. You can spend more time building relationships, solving high-value problems, and creating unique value. The goal isn't to remove the human touch, it's to remove the human burden. To start using code as leverage, begin with observation. Where do you repeat yourself? Where do things break down? Where do you feel like a machine? Those are the places calling for digital help. Then, explore simple tools, Zapier, Airtable, Calendly, ChatGPT, and others, to solve one friction point at a time. Leverage doesn't require genius, it requires intention. Code gives you superpowers, not because you're a tech wizard, but because you chose to build a smarter system instead of a harder schedule. That's the shift from exhaustion to efficiency, and it's just the beginning. Code allows one-time effort to produce infinite outputs. You don't need to write code to use code. Automation tools are everywhere. Each automation reduces mental load and increases creative freedom. Where in your workflow are you acting like a robot? And how could a system do it instead? Pick one manual task you do weekly, research a tool or script that could automate it, then test it this week. Chapter 5. Capital, Letting Money Work for You. When Eliza inherited $10,000 from her grandmother, she didn't spend it. She didn't save it, either, not in the traditional sense. Instead, she invested it in a dividend-paying index fund. Over the next 15 years, that money doubled, then tripled, without Eliza ever adding a single extra dollar. It quietly grew while she worked, rested, and lived her life. That's the essence of capital as leverage. It multiplies quietly, patiently, and without burnout. Capital is one of the most misunderstood forms of leverage. Many believe it's only for the wealthy. But capital isn't just about how much money you have, it's about how you use what you have. It's the ability to make money work harder than you do. Every dollar you put to work is a soldier fighting for your financial freedom. The more strategically you deploy it, the more ground you cover. In a hustle culture, we're taught to earn with effort. But capital earns through positioning. It compounds. It grows when you're not watching. It works on weekends and doesn't call in sick. Whether through stocks, real estate, intellectual property, or owning equity in a business, capital creates a separation between time and income. It untethers effort from reward. There's a reason Warren Buffett calls compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. When capital compounds, it doesn't grow in a straight line, it accelerates. One investment leads to another. One asset funds a second. Wealth starts to stack, and the climb becomes exponential. That's the turning point where you stop chasing money and let money start chasing you. But capital isn't just about investing in markets. It's also about how you invest in your own infrastructure, buying a better tool that saves you time, hiring a virtual assistant who clears your plate, or outsourcing a bottleneck that frees your mental bandwidth. These are capital moves. They convert money into time, clarity, and growth. And unlike working more hours, they don't drain your energy. The mindset shift is crucial. Instead of asking, "Can I afford this?" start asking, "What return could this generate?" That might mean spending money on education, systems, or even rest, because well-deployed capital isn't a cost. It's leverage. Every time you exchange dollars for an asset that produces more dollars, you're climbing the leverage ladder. Risk is part of the equation, but not all risk is reckless. Intelligent capital use is strategic, patient, and diversified. It involves due diligence and learning. You don't need to master Wall Street to make smart capital decisions. You just need to prioritize ownership over consumption, investment over impulse, and structure over struggle. Capital also compounds your other leverages. It helps you build better code systems, amplify content, and fund stronger collaborations. A well-placed dollar can turn a good idea into a great business. It can unlock opportunities, expand networks, and accelerate momentum. It turns potential into performance. Start small. Even setting aside a portion of each paycheck to invest can create meaningful change. Use tools like automated investing apps, high-yield savings for business reserves, or fractional ownership platforms to begin. Over time, the habit matters more than the amount. You're building a muscle, not chasing a miracle. Capital doesn't make you lazy. It makes you leveraged. It allows you to choose your effort instead of being owned by it. It's not just about wealth, it's about wisdom, about using resources to reclaim your life, not lose it chasing more. Capital is money that works for you, compounding results without additional effort. Small, consistent investments build leverage over time. Use capital not just to grow wealth, but to buy back time and energy. Where could you exchange dollars today for freedom or growth tomorrow? Choose one area where you're trading time for tasks. Research how a small financial investment could reduce that burden. Chapter 6: Content, Your Digital Clone. It started with a blog post, just one, written by a consultant named Maya who wanted to share her thoughts on strategy. She published it on a quiet Tuesday afternoon, forgot about it, and moved on with her week. 2 months later, a global brand reached out to her because they'd found that one post and resonated with her thinking. That single piece of content led to a 6-figure consulting deal. Maya had written it once. The internet did the rest. Content is one of the most powerful forms of leverage in the modern world. It allows you to multiply your ideas, reputation, and trust without multiplying your effort. A single video, podcast, post, or article can continue working on your behalf for years. It educates, entertains, and sells, while you sleep, rest, or create the next thing. Content is your digital clone, always on, always available, always scalable. Most people think of content as noise, but for those who understand its power, it's a strategic asset. Every valuable piece you create becomes part of a flywheel. The more you create, the more people discover you. The more they discover you, the more they trust you. And trust, in the digital age, is currency. It opens doors, builds audiences, and fills pipelines. Content decouples attention from effort. Instead of repeating the same message to 10 people, you publish it once and let it reach thousands. Instead of chasing leads, you attract them. Instead of explaining your process over and over, you document it and let your content speak for you. That's leverage. That's multiplication. You don't have to be an influencer. You don't have to be on every platform. You just have to be intentional. Start with the core questions your audience asks. Share your unique perspective. Use your real voice. One good piece of content, well-placed and evergreen, can outperform 100 forgettable ones. Depth matters more than volume. Content compounds when it's repurposed. A webinar becomes a blog post. A blog becomes a thread. A thread becomes a podcast. You're not starting from scratch each time, you're multiplying angles, reach, and relevance. Smart creators don't just publish, they repackage. They think in systems, not silos. There's also an emotional layer to content. It creates a connection. People don't just buy what you offer, they buy into who you are, what you believe, and how you make them feel. Content builds that bridge. It gives people a way to learn from you before they ever meet you. It turns strangers into fans, fans into customers, and customers into evangelists. And to use content as leverage. Consistency matters more than perfection. Set a rhythm you can maintain. Weekly is powerful, monthly is sustainable. Then batch, schedule, and automate. Remove friction. Make it easy to create and publish. Use tools that streamline the process and protect your creative energy. If you're not sure where to start, begin by documenting what you already do. Answer a common question. Break down a recent project. Reflect on a hard-earned lesson. Then publish. Don't worry about going viral. Worry about adding value. Over time, value wins. Over time, content compounds. And over time, your voice becomes a magnet. Content isn't just marketing. It's leverage. It's your ideas, encoded and scaled. It's your reputation, extended and multiplied. And it's one of the few assets that costs nothing but your insight, and returns more than you expect. Content is a scalable asset that builds trust and reach beyond your effort. Your purposing and consistency unlock compounding results. Your ideas, shared strategically, become magnets for opportunity. What valuable knowledge do you have that others search for, but you've never shared? Write one short piece of content that answers a common question in your space. Publish it today. Chapter 7. Collaboration, Multiply Through People. In the early days of building his animation empire, Walt Disney had a vision, but it was his brother Roy who made it viable. While Walt created, Roy negotiated, financed, and stabilized. Without that partnership, Disney's dream may have never reached the world. This is the quiet force of collaboration. When aligned, people multiply not just results, but resilience. Too many people wear solo effort as a badge of honor. They believe doing it all themselves is noble, even necessary, but going alone is a form of hidden sabotage. It caps potential and creates burnout. Collaboration breaks that ceiling. It allows others time, talent, and perspective to compound yours. It's not about doing less work, it's about doing more of the right work with the right people. Collaboration is leverage because it taps into resources you don't have alone. A great designer brings your message to life visually. A skilled operator turns your chaos into clarity. A strong partner opens doors you couldn't reach solo. Every collaboration expands your capacity without expanding your hours. Every person you trust with responsibility becomes a force multiplier. But collaboration isn't just hiring. It's alignment. It's choosing people whose strengths offset your weaknesses. It's surrounding yourself with thinkers, doers, and challengers who make your ideas stronger. It's not about building a hierarchy, it's about building synergy. You move from bottleneck to catalyst, from manager to multiplier. The key is clarity. Clear roles, clear goals, and clear expectations. When people know where they add value and how success is measured, they rise. Ambiguity kills collaboration. But clarity fuels it. Tools like documented processes, shared dashboards, and regular check-ins aren't bureaucracy, they're amplifiers. They create trust, reduce friction, and free people to operate at their best. There's also a mental shift required. Many founders, creatives, and high achievers resist collaboration because they fear losing control. But control is an illusion. What you need isn't tighter grip, it's better structure. You need systems where trust replaces micromanagement, where leadership means enabling, not enforcing. Start by identifying what only you can do. Then delegate the rest, not all at once, but piece by piece. Begin with contractors, assistants, or part-time help. Use tools like Loom to record training, Notion to document systems, and Slack to centralize communication. Build your leverage one relationship at a time. Also, remember that collaboration isn't just inside your company. It's partnerships, affiliates, co-creators, mentors, and even communities. A good collaboration creates value for everyone involved. It's not transactional, it's transformational. The right person at the right time can accelerate your journey by years. The long game is building a team, not just of workers but of believers, people who see the vision and pour their strengths into realizing it. Culture isn't ping-pong tables or motivational quotes, it's the clarity, trust, and momentum that come from working in sync towards something meaningful. That's what multiplies output without multiplying effort. You don't scale through duplication, you scale through collaboration, through diverse perspectives, shared ownership, and empowered action. When you find the courage to stop doing everything, you find the freedom to do what matters. And when you do it with the right people, everything changes. Collaboration leverages the time, skill, and energy of others to multiply impact. Clear roles and aligned goals are the foundation of effective teamwork. Scaling happens through people, not by doing more, but by trusting more. What task are you holding on to that someone else could do better or faster? List 3 tasks you currently manage alone. Choose one to delegate or outsource this week. Chapter 8: The Multiplication Engine. Most people think in silos. They automate a task here, invest some money there, publish occasional content, or hire sporadic help. But without connection, these remain scattered tactics. They relieve pressure, but they don't create momentum. Real leverage begins when these parts become a system, a multiplication engine where each form of leverage fuels the others. That's when you stop grinding and start compounding. Imagine 4 flywheels: code, capital, content, and collaboration, each spinning on its own. Now imagine them linked. The automation you build: code reduces workload and frees up time to create strategic content. That content attracts new opportunities, which bring in capital. That capital funds better tools and stronger collaborators. Those collaborators help you build more automation. Around and around it goes, faster, stronger, more efficient with every cycle. This is the system that separates high performers from exhausted ones. Not more hustle, not more time, just more flow. A well-designed leverage engine allows you to be more present, more focused, and more creative, because you're no longer doing everything by hand. You've built a machine that works for you. It begins with awareness. Most people operate reactively, solving problems as they arise. But leverage thinkers operate proactively. They look for upstream fixes, systemized solutions, and compounding wins. They ask not just how do I solve this, but how do I solve this forever? That shift is subtle but profound. Take something simple, onboarding a client. Without a system, it's emails, calls, reminders, and repeated work. With a system, it's a shared dashboard, an automated sequence, pre-recorded videos, and a clear process everyone follows. One version drains your attention. The other gives it back. Multiply that mindset across your business and life, and you create exponential breathing room. That breathing room is where strategy lives. When you're no longer consumed by the day-to-day, you can step back and see the whole picture. You can optimize, improve, and innovate. You can spot bottlenecks and redesign them. You become not just the architect but the conductor, guiding the tempo and tone of the entire operation. The multiplication engine also protects your energy. Burnout rarely comes from a single big task, it comes from the weight of constant small ones. When systems carry that weight, you regain capacity, you make better decisions. You show up stronger, and most importantly, you sustain your output over time. Building this engine doesn't require a massive overhaul. It starts small. Choose one lever, whichever feels most accessible, and go deep. Automate one task. Publish one post. Delegate one responsibility. Then use the gains from that move to fund the next. Over time, the loop tightens, accelerates, and lifts you into a new level of freedom. Think of it like compound interest, but for productivity. Each improvement fuels the next. Each system unlocks another, and soon, what felt heavy becomes light, what felt scattered becomes smooth. You're not just getting things done, you're designing a life that gets better over time. This is the power of integrated leverage. It's not just about building tools, it's about connecting them. It's not just about hiring help, it's about empowering them. It's not just about posting content, it's about letting it speak for you. When these forces converge, your output multiplies, not through exhaustion, but through elegance. Leverage works best when connected. Code, capital, content, and collaboration fuel each other. A multiplication engine creates flow, reduces friction, and sustains high performance. Start small, connect your wins, and build momentum through integration. Where in your current life or work are your leverage strategies disconnected or underutilized? Map your current leverage tools. Identify one area where you can connect 2 of them into a single workflow. Chapter 9: Burnout-proof success. Talia was the definition of driven. A high-performing executive with a calendar packed from dawn to dusk, she earned the accolades, hit the targets, and led with precision. But she was unraveling inside. The constant pressure, the endless decisions, the lack of space, it all added up. One morning she couldn't get out of bed. Her body had drawn the boundaries she refused to. That's the hidden cost of success without sustainability. It looks impressive from the outside but slowly corrodes from within. Burnout is not a sign of weakness, it's a signal. A signal that the system is broken, that the inputs no longer justify the outputs, that you've crossed the line where effort becomes erosion. The dangerous part is how invisible it is at first. It wears the mask of productivity. It whispers that one more push will fix everything. But the truth is, burnout doesn't come from doing too much, it comes from doing too much of the wrong things, in the wrong way, for too long. Leverage, at its core, is an antidote to burnout. It doesn't just multiply results, it multiplies resilience. By shifting from reactive doing to intentional designing, it gives your nervous system a break. It creates margins, restores agency, and protects the asset that matters most to you. Because the greatest strategy, the most powerful system, the sharpest idea, they're all worthless if you're too depleted to deploy them. The first step to burnout-proofing success is to reclaim your energy as a resource, not a reward. You don't earn rest, you design for it. You don't wait for burnout to crash down, you build rhythms that prevent it. Energy is not infinite. It must be managed, protected, and renewed. Start by auditing your energy leaks. What drains you consistently? What tasks leave you numb, distracted, or resentful? Those are clues. Then look for your energy gains, work that lights you up, fuels your momentum, and leaves you better than it found you. The goal is not to eliminate hard work, it's to eliminate unnecessary suffering, it's to align your effort with impact. Leverage creates space by absorbing the strain, automations reduce decision fatigue, delegation lowers cognitive load. Capital buys time back, content speaks while you sleep. These are not luxuries, they're lifelines. They allow you to build without breaking, to grow without grinding yourself down. But this requires permission, internal and external. You must give yourself permission to rest, say no, and set boundaries. You must normalize sustainability, not sacrifice. Too often, we celebrate burnout like it's bravery. It's not. It's a breakdown in disguise. True strength is sustainability. Real success is what you can repeat, not just what you can survive. This also means designing rituals of renewal, morning routines that ground you, breaks that refuel you, weekly reviews that realign you. Think of your life like a high-performance machine. It needs maintenance. It needs care, not just when things fall apart, but before they do. Preventative leverage is smarter than reactive repair. Lastly, remember that burnout isn't solved by slowing down alone, it's solved by shifting direction. You need to move from overextension to optimization, from being the bottleneck to being the builder, from working harder to working healthier. Leverage isn't just a business tool. It's a boundary tool. It's how you reclaim your energy and design a life that lasts. Burnout stems from sustained misalignment, not just overwork, but wrong work. Leverage protects your energy by reducing decision load and increasing capacity. Sustainability must be designed, not deferred. What parts of your current workload consistently deplete your energy, and how could leverage reduce or remove them? Choose one draining task you handle regularly. Identify a way to automate, delegate, or batch it starting this week. Chapter 10: The Leverage Mindset. The difference between those who stay stuck and those who scale isn't always talent, timing, or resources. Often, it's mindset. The way they see problems, the way they frame decisions, the way they respond to limits. Leverage isn't just a tactic, it's a worldview, a lens that transforms how you approach work, time, and value. It's the shift from "how do I do this" to "how do I never do this again." Leverage thinkers ask different questions. Instead of "what's the fastest way to get this done?" they ask "what's the best way to make sure this gets done without me?" They don't just think about completion, they think about continuity. They design once, so they don't repeat endlessly. They build solutions that live beyond the task. This mindset requires stepping out of urgency. It's hard to think in leverage when you're drowning in deadlines. That's why the first discipline of a leveraged thinker is to create space. Even 30 minutes of uninterrupted time can change everything. In that space, you move from reacting to designing, you move from doing to deciding. Leveraged thinkers also see assets where others see tasks. They don't just write an email, they turn it into a template. They don't just answer a question, they record it for future use. They don't just finish projects, they document the process. They're constantly building infrastructure, tiny systems, smart shortcuts, reusable tools. They understand that every solved problem is a seed. If planted right, it grows solutions for others, for later, for scale. Scarcity mindset says, I can't afford to delegate. Leverage mindset says, I can't afford not to. Scarcity hoards decisions. Leverage builds decision trees. Scarcity fears automation. Leverage designs it. The shift isn't easy, especially if you've built success through effort. Letting go of control can feel like letting go of quality. But leveraged thinkers know that holding on to everything eventually breaks everything. They also challenge traditional definitions of productivity. It's not about how busy you are, it's about how little you have to do to keep everything running. True productivity is freedom, not frenzy. It's measured by optionality, not output. A leveraged thinker may appear to work less, but they produce more. Not because they're smarter, but because they've aligned their effort with expansion. Mindset is also about boundaries. Leveraged thinkers protect their time like investors protect capital. Every yes is evaluated. Every commitment is measured against opportunity cost. They say no not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. They don't chase every shiny object. They build compounding value in the directions that matter most. Adopting a leverage mindset doesn't happen overnight. It's a daily decision. A constant recalibration. But with each repetition, it becomes your default. You stop solving the same problems twice. You stop being the hero and start being the strategist. You stop filling your day and start designing your future. This shift will feel strange at first, slower even. But that's the paradox. Slowing down to design the system is what speeds everything up. It's what gives you the power to scale without snapping, to grow without grinding. To build not just success, but sustainability. Leverage begins in the mind. It's a way of seeing problems, opportunities, and value. Scarcity mindset hoards tasks. Leverage mindset builds systems. Freedom and sustainability come from designing smarter defaults, not working harder. Where are you still thinking like an operator? And what would a leveraged thinker do instead? Identify one recurring task you've handled manually. Create a template, script, or checklist so it never has to be done from scratch again. Chapter 11. Designing Your Leverage Blueprint. When Jordan first heard about leverage, he was overwhelmed. Should he start automating? Investing? Hiring? Publishing content? Everything sounded important, but trying to do it all at once felt paralyzing. So he did nothing, for a while. Until he realized the secret wasn't doing everything. It was doing the right thing, right now. That's what a leverage blueprint offers: clarity, a path that's personal, prioritized, and practical. Your leverage blueprint is your custom map. It's how you move from ideas to action without drowning in complexity. It aligns with your current season, your strengths, and your goals. It recognizes that leverage isn't one size fits all. What works for a software developer might not work for a coach. What accelerates a solopreneur may stall a growing team. Your blueprint meets you where you are and moves you forward. Start with your leverage inventory. Assess where you're already using leverage, even if informally. Maybe you've automated parts of your calendar. Maybe you've invested in tools or outsourced some work. Write it down. Acknowledge the systems already in place. Then highlight what's missing. Which of the 4 types, code, capital, content, collaboration, are underutilized or non-existent? Next, define your leverage goal. Is it more time, more income, more reach, or more impact? Your goal shapes your strategy. For example, if your primary goal is time freedom, focus on code and collaboration. If it's reach, content becomes essential. If it's passive income, capital and code might lead the way. Every decision you make should move you closer to that outcome. Now choose one leverage lane to go deep on for the next 30 days, just one. Going wide spreads you thin, going deep compounds returns. If you choose content, commit to publishing weekly. If you choose code, pick one process to automate. If you choose collaboration, start hiring or outsourcing. If you choose capital, set up an investment plan or review your current cash flow. Then, design rituals around that lane, time blocks, review cycles, metrics. Make leverage a habit, not a hope. For example, block 1 hour every Friday to build or refine a system. Review what saved you time that week. Track one metric that reflects your leverage goal, like hours saved, dollars earned passively, or content reach. Progress comes from rhythm, not randomness. As you implement, expect friction. You'll be tempted to revert to doing things the old way, quickly, manually, alone. But transformation lives in the resistance. Trust the process. The early effort to build leverage feels slow because you're investing in infrastructure. But once that infrastructure is in place, results flow faster than ever before. Eventually, you'll layer leverage lanes. What starts as content leads to collaboration. What begins as automation leads to capital investment. Your blueprint evolves. Your flywheel strengthens, and the gap between input and output widens in your favor. This is not about perfection, it's about iteration. Your blueprint will shift as your capacity, clarity, and context change. That's normal. What matters is the mindset: build once, benefit many. Act today in ways that reduce effort tomorrow. Leverage isn't a finish line. It's a way of building that gets smarter with every step. A leverage blueprint personalizes your strategy based on your strengths, season, and goals. Going deep in one leverage lane beats trying to activate all four at once. Progress comes from rituals, review, and realignment, not random effort. Which form of leverage feels most aligned with your current goal, and what's one way to commit to it this month? Choose one leverage area to focus on for the next 30 days. Set a recurring weekly time block to build momentum. Take care and be well.